Israel can't strike Iran's nuclear facilities because they are scattered all over the country. It would be much, much too complicated. I doubt the United States will let Israel strike Iran's oil facilities because that would drive the price of oil up, and I can't see President Biden allowing that to happen. I think this reflects Israeli doctrine. Israeli doctrine says Israel is going after Hamas personnel. Wherever Hamas personnel are is a legitimate military target, and any civilians who stand in the way are fair game. That, according to most interpretations I know of international law, is a crime. It's a war crime. It is perhaps a crime against humanity. And Israel thinks nothing of bombing schools. The general who is now commanding the Israeli military's Gaza division was actually reprimanded for blowing up a university in Gaza without having received permission. Israel has done a very systematic job of destroying all the universities in Gaza, including libraries. It continues to bomb schools with the excuse that Hamas commanders are hiding in them. The future for students in Gaza is very bleak. The world must take responsibility for their welfare and for their opportunities. If it does not do so, I don't see Israel doing it, because Israel is actually the one who is destroying all the schools and all the universities in Gaza. These are, as I understand them, the sentiments of the Israeli public, but they are not the sort of sentiments you articulate. This is the starting point. This is something that is so deeply held and so deeply believed that it is transparent. We really, in a very effective sense, don't think Palestinians are real. We don't think the Lebanese are real. All we can perceive is the threat to our existence. And this threat is personified by specific people who are bad people. And according to our reasoning, they must be killed. That is why when Israel assassinated Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut, it thought nothing of killing dozens and hundreds of Lebanese who were in the vicinity. We just don't think they're real. What is the Israeli mindset 1 year after the war? We still don't think they're real, but I think a lot of Israelis now realize that the war in Gaza and that this war in Lebanon that is only beginning, that they are both futile. That still does not send Israelis into the streets, because even though they understand that these wars cannot affect our security in any positive way, they still see no alternative but war. I think that's what you need to understand about the Israeli public. Support for the war is there not so much because of the joy of killing, but because really Israelis can't envision peace, can't envision coexistence, can't envision any alternative but going to war and hoping for the best. I'm hoping that the situation that is now developing with regard to Iran will begin to change that, but I have no way of knowing for certain. I know Israelis support the war, but the reason they support the war is, again, not because of some very present hatred or anything like that. They support the war because we're the only ones who are real, and if our existence is threatened, we can kill anyone. I think it's very clear that the Iranian strike on Israel was meant to send a message, not to start a war. Now it's up to Israel to decide what to do with it. Israel has been making promises that it will strike all over the Middle East, or that it will strike Iran's nuclear facilities or oil facilities. I doubt that will happen. Israel can't strike Iran's nuclear facilities because they are scattered all over the country. It would be much, much too complicated. I doubt the United States will let Israel strike Iran's oil facilities because that would drive the price of oil up, and I can't see President Biden allowing that to happen. If Israel retaliates, I assume that it will, but if it does, it may choose targets that are less bound to lead to war, perhaps Iranian targets outside Iran, perhaps another distinctly military target that Israel can strike with drones. I think it's likely that Israel will retaliate, but I'm not sure, and if it does, I don't think it will be an all-out strike on Tehran, which means that we could be headed for some time of escalation and counter-escalation unless the international community steps in and does something about this. The only, I think, player that is powerful enough is the United States. The United States is caught in an election. Neither candidate wants to take a risk and do something positive about this, so we may be caught in this loop until the American election at the beginning of November. In any case, I don't think we're likely to see regional war anytime over the next few weeks. I think that's just spin and propaganda. Israel had a very hard time coming to terms with the student encampments. Those are going to return. They've already returned all over the world. They expose not just Israel for its crimes, but also the involvement of Western governments. This is something that is a very sore point for the West. Israel is doing a lot to try and dismiss them as either spoiled children who don't know the real world or as puppets operated by Hamas operatives. While there are elements in the encampments that are not students, that are professional organizations, my understanding is that Israel is simply spreading propaganda. These encampments are genuine and authentic. They are truly critical, and they represent a generation who is no longer satisfied with the division of power in the world and wants to change that. I wish I could be optimistic. Looking at Israel, which is what I've been talking about for the past year, I don't see any forces for positive change in Israel. I see Israel committed to the notion of war at all costs. Again, not because Israel thinks it can win, not because it can define victory, but because Israelis see and understand no option but war. There is no doubt in my mind that if this is to stop, this will require the active involvement of the international community. Until the international community decides to step in, I doubt we will see any kind of positive change. We may even see a negative change. I do, however, believe that a regional war is not in the cards at the moment. I don't think anybody wants it. I don't think Israel is ready for it. I think Israel's government, Israel's leadership are acting out of a very close-minded, limited understanding of the situation. I think they're even slightly mad, but I don't think they're angling for a regional war. I don't think the United States will support Israel in such a war, and if it doesn't, then Israel is doomed.